All right, welcome back, everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I am back, and it is time to do another pro series. This one, hot off the presses. I couldn't think of a better one. We have got, in the bottom right-hand side of the map, it's been a while since I cast him on this channel. It is Serral, the best Zerg in the world. Going to be taking on a rising star who's showing more and more prowess as each day passes. It is Liquid Clem in the bottom left-hand side of the map. And no, this isn't just some one-off ladder game we're casting. This is a best-of-5 series from the RedBull Battlegrounds Online Cup. It is not every day that Serral comes out and plays in an online cup. It's actually quite rare, as a matter of fact, maybe a handful of times in the past years. So it's exciting. This one was just played out, so I thought, all right, I gotta cast this one. Let's just watch Serral play. I feel like it's been far too long. And this is actually the finals of that tournament, so I couldn't think of a better TVZ finals. I know there's been a lot of TVZ on this channel lately, but when it comes down to Clem and Serral, you just can't say no to it. So we are going to be seeing the best ZvT in the world, I'd say. As Serral, he has just mastered the ZvT style that really relies on playing defensive, shutting down whatever aggression the Terran throws at you, but then also being dangerous enough just to kill you in an instant if he so chooses, or if he has the opportunity. And so, for that reason alone, I really like Clem going for an SCV scout. Serral is not immune to going for early pools, early roach pressure, and that is very wise of the young French Terran player to be scouting this out. And yeah, this is a full-on best-of-5, so I'm excited to cast it. The first map being Golden Wall to start things off. So a little bit unorthodox of a map, however, it doesn't result in anything too crazy usually, and I think we are going to be seeing it more and more. At first glance, when you look at this map, you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? But no, it is just a very, very good map overall, I feel. Has showed some great games already, and this could very well be another one. We see Clem come in here, toss down his Reaper Grenade, gonna try and get a drone, soften up some lings. In the end, though, Serral getting exactly what he wants, spreading that damage out evenly across those Zerglings, and then the Reaper of Clem gets sent packing due to this Queen popping out. But oh, look at this, Clem already making a bold statement, gonna be going for a super quick third base against Serral. Now this is a choice that I really like. On Golden Wall, you can actually play quite defensive if you choose. There's multiple ways you can expand, play the map out. So I do quite like the third CC play from Clem. Just going to try and sneak this one under the nose of Serral, going for a lot of greed. Before the Zerg player even has his own third base on the way, we're seeing Clem having his own third halfway done. So this is quite exciting for Clem to have this on the way. And Serral, interestingly enough, gonna be playing a bit of a different strategy, a two-base lair. No third on the way just yet. A very quick lair. It's gonna be tough for Clem to scout this. However, he should know that something is a little bit amiss, just based off the fact that there isn't any third base up yet. Clem's third finishing up just about as Serral's is starting up, so that just really shows the discrepancy in the timings. A Viking is on the way for Clem as well. I really enjoy this, just to shut down that Overlord scouting. A lot of Zergs have been skipping that Pneumatized Carapace for the Overlords, and that is making it so that Terran can actually shut down the scouts a lot easier, and a Viking, plus no Pneumatized Carapace, will probably shut down most of the scouting for Serral. Serral's Overlord is hovering around the south of here. Will it get found by this Viking, though? That's the real question. If it can spot the third base, that would be really nice for Serral. Regardless, though, Serral is going to be going for a Spire play. He's got the best Mutalisk control in the world. One of the players that really gives me faith that Mutalisk have a spot in the matchup is sometimes Zergs will go for him and they just won't look very good at all. But Serral, he's one of the Zergs who is just so good at controlling his units that he can actually just make magic happen with them. A Creep Tumor gets picked off, but the Queen's already spreading more, already pooping out more Creep Tumors, so those are on the way. And yeah, we're 5 minutes into this game now. It looks like this Overlord did transform into an Overseer. It will spot the third base, so Serral basically knows that there's going to be no nasty timings against him. Whereas Clem is a little bit in the dark. He's not aware of the Spire. For all he knows, it could be some extreme Nidus play. It is a 2-base Muta, essentially, though the 3rd base is up. But yeah, it's primarily a 2-base layer into 2-base Muta. And I honestly am excited to see how this one's going to play out. However, before things get going too much, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to slap that like button, seeing as how we have got Clem at 23 army supply. Let's try and hit 23 likes on this video. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you enjoy daily StarCraft 2 content, do slap that subscribe button. I also cover a lot of Alpha Star games on my quest to cast every single one of those. So best of both StarCraft worlds. Now, we have got Clem. He's already got +1 attack on the way, but no +1 armor started yet. This makes me a little bit concerned. That's a mistake. He got the 2nd eBay. He didn't just buy it so it would sit around and look pretty. So he's going to want to correct that and get his +1 armor going as soon as possible. We do take a look, though. Clem, he's going to be securing up his gold base, so he's going to have a very high mineral income. However, this can be harassed by the mutas quite easily due to all this dead space behind the base. So we're going to want to see a turret get up for Clem as soon as possible. He's going to lose actually both of those mules. That's quite painful for the Terran player. That's about 500 minerals gone. These mutas are already starting to pay for themselves. Serral is flying in with the mutas. Clem has formed a beautiful wall of widow mines, but oh, Serral, oh my gosh, so good. Actually slips by those widow mines. Clem was sure he had covered everywhere, but that simply was not the case. The question is, though, can the mutas actually get out without eating a widow mine shot? And it looks like they can indeed. So Serral starting to get value with these mutas. He's lost 1 trading out for that Viking, but still, this is a pretty good start for Serral. Clem, he's going to charge in with his Hellions, going to start trying to get a few drones. He's already got 4. Serral places down an Evo to try and limit the damage, loses 6 in total for 3 Hellions and a Reaper. Not a bad trade for either side, I'd say. And the game is still continuing on as both these players are macroing up. Serral has to be a little bit worried based on Clem's mineral income. Clem is going to have a lot of minerals, which means a lot of Marines for the Terran player just based off, well, literally off this gold base here. And then we see Clem's starting to push out on the map already. He doesn't have medivacs with this army, but he wants to step forward, start cleaning up creep. He's got to be careful not to go too far onto this creep. Widow mines are burrowing, but they're not really going to get the shots off that they need. Here's the medivacs that those Marines needed, and they will keep those Marines safe. But look at that, Serral not wasting a second. Start spreading creep the second that those tumors were killed off. He knows how important creep is in a Terran versus Zerg. And oh, look at that. Clem's +1 is finished. His +1 armor only halfway done. That's actually quite painful for the young Terran player, as not having that upgrade is really, or could really hurt him. Okay, we see Serral bouncing around with these mutas, knows that there's widow mines, hasn't actually got an overseer to allow him to pick those off just yet. I imagine he'll add one of those on with the mutas soon. It's generally just a good idea all around. Widow mine picks off a couple of banelings, both these players doing a dance on the front line of creep, and it's just starting to kick off right now. The mutas for Serral simultaneously being microed as these players are battling on the front lines. Widow mines burrowing on up for Clem. He's going to have to lift up into those medivacs. Shots get off. Widow mines trading out. All right. No amazing shots, no terrible ones, really just paying for themselves, I'd say. Serral, though, probably quite happy with that exchange, as it's getting the Terran off his back. And I also just want to note, I really like the choice for mutas here from Serral, as if we take a look, all this dead space, by extension, is protecting his main base. Clem's sending a dropout to the lower part of this map to try and hit Serral's main base is just not an option. And then they have to go so far north. And while this is going on as well, we also see Serral just going in for an attack. Might be a little bit overzealous, we'll see. Lots of banelings rolling forward. The Thor's here, but oh, the SCVs at this mineral line could be in trouble. No, Clem pulls away just in time. Gonna be able to shoot down all of those widow mines. However, his drilling clause does get denied if we check the bottom right. So this is quite exciting indeed as we take a look. Serral just putting the pressure on, defending. He hasn't really had to react to anything coming his way. I would like to note that Serral has got quite a delayed hive or infestation pit so far, as he is one of the Zergs who really got his signature was the late game Zerg play. but he's actually been delaying that a bit, really committing to the Ling Banes and Mutas in no specific rush to get to that. And now we take a look. This is where the Mutas could become a pain. Their numbers have grown. They've got an Overseer so they can pick off Widowmines. Clem, he has got Marines coming out as production, though, will repel those Mutas. But Serral, you don't just have to repel Serral once. You have to repel him throughout the entire game. He sees these Widowmines as well, attacking the add-on in the face of those mines, just kind of insulting Clem a little bit. Like, yeah, I see those mines. I'm going to dance around them. No biggie. Serral's just that good. We see Clem going for a bit of a drop and attack to the north, but Serral hits units in position. Clem stepping onto creep right now. He's got quite a strong army. Make no mistake about that. His Marauder count is starting to grow as well, which makes dealing with the mass Banelings much, much easier for the Terran. So we can't overstate how important that Marauder count is, as Terrans are seemingly building more and more Marauders every TVZ that they play. Lots of Mutas moving across the map for Serral. They could potentially pick off these turrets. We'll see. He's playing very cautious with these Mutas, which is important. Marines out on the map, forcing those Banelings back, but Serral's happy to be having his Banelings retreat because that means he's off creep. He's not playing the defensive game at all, really. Well, by extension, he is. His defense, or his offense, is being his defense. Clem is having a hard time stepping on creep for more than a few seconds because of the Muta counterattacks, because of the Banes surging forward. And Serral is really in control this game. We'll see, though. If Clem can build up to a big enough army, say that 200 supply, then there's a chance that he could just make a big attack happen and that he could wear Serral thin. Serral baiting out that Widowmine. There is another mine, but oh, he expertly baits that out. He's just too good at baiting out Widowmines. That's the signature of a very good Zerg, as dealing with Widowmines is incredibly tough to do, but these good Zergs, they seem to never eat a single Widowmine shot that deals really effective damage, because Widowmine shots can get off such huge connections if Zerg units are clumped up, but these Zergs are just so good at preventing that. Clem's main base, once again, going to be accosted by these Mutas. Turrets are no match at all for this flock. Widowmine even hits the Mutas. That equals one dead Muta, but as long as they get out, they'll be just fine. A few Marines running in. The Serral backs out with the Mutas, I guess, probably because he's focused on this attack that Clem's going for, pushing towards the main base of Serral. Clem has found a nice pathway. Going to give him quick access to the natural. A Thor as his anchor point as well. While this is going on, though, the Muta's picking off SCVs at the third base. Clem has to pull back away from Serral. He's going to have to reconsolidate to go for a push. He's having to keep units towards his north, though, to try and deal with these Lingbane counterattacks. He's trying to secure up a fifth base, as the third gold base mines out rather quickly compared to the usual. +3 attack is about to finish up for Clem, however, his +3 armor lagging behind a little bit due to that mistake of not starting it right away. We see these Marines going to be trying to intercept these Banes, however, there's simply so many Banelings, so Widowmines and Marauders are going to have to get involved to clean this up. Serral is crashing forward. Quite a bold attack to go this far forward with this many Lings and Banes, but I guess he figures, hey, clean out the ground units, then the Mutas can get damaged, but no, that doesn't really work out for Serral. The Banelings all get shut down, and the Mutas can't keep harassing. Clem positioning more than enough bio to the north there to deal with that. He's getting up a lot of turrets to defend this PF. With the planetaries, with the turrets, he shouldn't have to guard that base as much, but oh, look at this. Serral knows that some of Clem's army is out to the north, and this means it's not here to defend. We do see Serral committing, but oh, those Mutas stay alive due to those Thors being up in the Medivacs. Clem had to save them from the ground units, and oh, look at this. Serral actually just going to crash forward, really break the third base of Clem. Probably not get a kill move off, but this is really nice, keeping the Terran on the back foot. Serral just spilling these units forward. So, while this has been going on, Serral has also expanded, mined out that wall of minerals, expanded again. He's taken a base to the north as well, so he's just taking all the bases that he can. This is what I love to see from a Zerg player. If you ever have a bank, invest in another hatchery. It's probably worth it, more likely than not. While this is going on, of course, Serral pressuring Clem in multiple locations. The Baneling's going to crash forward. The Terran player pulls his SCVs away, but they want to repair the PF, but then they also want to avoid the Banelings. It's a tough decision to make, so Clem just going to run the SCVs away, sacrifice the base. He is getting a drop-off towards this location. Clem also knowing that Serral was a bit out of position, so knocking off this base is nice. He hasn't actually seen this base, so it's a bit unfortunate for him. I'm not even sure which base that is. That's like Serral's 6th base or 7th base or something like that. This drop will also get cleaned on up. Those medivacs moving towards the south, not going all the way home, which is a little bit risky, seeing as how there's mutas on the map. They maybe could have got decently far away if they had headed away right away. Instead, Clem, I guess he just figures that these Marines and Marauders are forfeit, so just going to unload them, try and get what he can done, while also pushing on the north with just a couple of Thors and some bio on the ground. There we go, more bio coming to join up with it. It seems that these players are never fighting with maxed out armies because they're just so active by fighting with everything they've got. I mean, they're not really taking the time to build up maxed out armies because they're constantly trading with each other. We take a look at this. Oh, Serral's so smart. Runs in a Ling attack, but oh, eats big Widow Mines. So Serral was trying to be sneaky, knowing that those gold minerals had mined out, but then Clem, having Widow Mines in position, gets some great shots off there. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is just game number 1 of a best of 5, and we're 15 minutes in now. The match is just going to continue on. Serral, however, has got to these Ultralisk, these big boys, and they are classic big boys with the Brood Dwarf skin on, with their big blades. They kind of look like they're constantly flexing with those big pincers. Clem starting to really make things scrappy, hitting these south bases once more. Going to deal with all those Banelings in that position. Those Marines, they can snipe that Bane down. There we go. Now potentially this hatchery could go down. Getting that would be nice for Clem. As the Ultras show up, that's not going to be the case, so he's going to have to pull away from that. While this is going on, though, Clem going to keep the pressure on to Serral, sending a Liberator north. That'll require anti-air to deal with. Bio going to run in as well. Widow Mines can set up, making the responses tougher for Serral to deal with. He's got to bring in some anti-air to deal with this Liberator too. Serral is looking to counterattack towards the 5th base of Clem. It looks like that this will eat Banelings. SCVs will go down. The turrets as well, also being cleared out. So it looks like the players are trading bases for bases. Serral did keep this southern base alive, though, which is quite notable. Clem, however, also comes to the north, which is going to allow him to keep this base alive, too. He probably wants to throw up some more turrets as soon as he can afford it. Turn this base into a planetary, so this location has an anchor point. Clem could lose some medivacs here. Going to have to boost those away. And man, the ultra count is rising for Serral. This game seems like it's showing no signs of slowing down, as both these players are just taking one more base at a time, it would seem. Serral's doing a good enough job defending his locations. Clem being rather meticulous with his expansions, doing a really good job defending the Zerg multi-prong. When you're under pressure from someone like Serral, from someone as good at Starcraft 2 as Serral, you want to make sure that you are covering all your locations, because if you leave yourself a little exposed anywhere, Serral will exploit it. Of course, Clem, though, he's a Terran, so it's really in his nature to try and find those little attack paths that the Zerg isn't prepared for. We see, oh, Marauders coming in. These Ultralisks caught a little bit on those Banelings, the Trader Banes, but nothing really will come of that. Clem's starting to kite with his Marines and Marauders, setting up Widow Mines. The Widow Mines will deal with the Banes. The Marauders can, in theory, kite the Ultras off creep. So Serral gonna have to back off. He can't take that fight, as Clem would just kite him to death. And we see, oh, a fight's going pretty well for Clem to the north. Down to the south, Serral, of course, has a counterattack going on. Learned his lesson from those Widow Mines before. Cleans out those mines, cleans out the sensor tower. The Banelings aren't going to get a lot done to the south at this location, as Clem hasn't expanded there yet. Looks like these Marines and Marauders are going to try and deal with this. They may be in a bit over their head. These Marines are like, wait, what? You want us to kill all those Marines? That's not happening. Clem's going to micro those back. His 4 units will pay for that. An alright trade, though. I mean, that was a lot of Banelings. Widowmine goes off towards the 5th base. It won't clean out all these Lings, and they are 3-3 with Adrenal Glands, so even a handful of Lings remaining is a threat to Clem. And we see, man, Clem, he's putting out fires. Serral's really starting to light him, really starting to put the pressure on his opponent. We see this planetary is quite the location for Clem to defend. He's got a lot more bio coming in. This seems like a bold attack from Serral, as the Ultras, rather separated up, are going to get gunned down. Serral just wants this planetary fortress, it seems, though, but Clem repairing it, gonna make Serral really pay if he's gonna break this location, so the location does get broken. But man, this is a lot of dead Ultralisks we're seeing. Widow Mines going off, finishing off more of them. One more gets focused down. Clem just gonna have to kite back and back, but while this has gone on, he's lost so many SCVs. All of a sudden, when the cards are counted, 41 SCVs have gone down because this base to the north got attacked. This gold base has just been not mining for quite a while now, and with Clem losing this location as well, he did take quite a hard economic hit. Clem is still up on supply, however, he's gonna need to make something happen soon, as if Serral is just left to his own devices, he'll just get such a large Baneling count that Clem really won't be able to do anything, no matter how efficiently he trades. Widow Mine's getting shots off, dealing with just these regular lings pretty well. More Widow Mine's gonna burrow. How are the connections looking? Pretty good, thinning out this ling count. Clem is coming forward. Players are even on supply right now. It's pretty much now or never for Clem, it feels, as his 5th base gets harassed once again. The lack of planetary really hurting him. However, this bio also being very overstimmed is hurting Clem. He's just microing as well as he can, trying to keep these units alive, but he's probably going to have to load up into his medivac soon, as these units are just one tap away from death. And yeah, GG, Serral actually going to take it. Clem just knows that it's over. He can't kite that bio anymore. And ladies and gentlemen, that was just game number 1. Make sure to stick around as I load into match number 2 between Clem and Serral. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have quite the conundrum on my hands, I must admit, because casting Clem and Serral, it's like, oh man, that was 20 minutes of action. I need to give my throat a second to rest, but then it's like, I don't want to wait to cast Serral and Clem. So here we are in the top left. It's Serral once more. I mean, he was being tested a little bit by Clem there, it seemed, but it honestly didn't seem like he was sweating too bad. He really did control that game for the most part. Clem sure tried. However, Serral really matched him at every point of the way. So we'll see if he can do anything different this game. What strategies he'll bring out. Maybe we'll see mech, although Clem does seem like quite a bio Terran, as he's very quick. The faster Terrans really do tend to prefer the bio, it would seem. Now, yeah, we'll just wait and see for things to heat on up. Clem, just going for a standard Reaper expand, it would seem. Serral gonna go for the standard hatchery. Some Zergs do just tend to go for like a 16 hatch every single game. Someone who's quite similar to Serral in a sense, I'd say a laser pretty much never goes for an early pool, but Serral will even go for it more often than a laser, I think. So that's something I really like about Serral. He isn't immune to mixing in the cheesy plays. He's a primarily defensive Zerg, but he will go for the aggressive plays and just bite your head off, or bite off your finger or something, before you even know what happened. Now, we take a look. A Reaper is on the way for Clem. No factory just yet. There's that Reaper popping on out. Then we'll see the factory. Then we'll see the reactor, probably into Hellions. It's pretty rare Terrans will skip the Hellions these days. 2-on-1s really fell out of fashion. That was the main non-Hellion build. Reaper gonna run on in for Clem. Gonna start harassing this drone. Micros starts targeting down one of the lings. If you can even get a ling against Serral, I feel like that's pretty good. Oh, he really injures one of those drones. Forces that drone to turn into a spore crawler. That makes Serral sweat a little bit. Also costs him a little bit of money. If we pull up that resources lost tab, 18 minerals are lost. Oh, that was questionable. Clem, I thought he was going to get his Reaper out there, but Serral, with the assassination, sneaks his queen to the high ground, kills that Reaper as Clem kited it north to avoid those lings, and oh man, this is what makes Serral so lethal. I was just talking about it. He's not immune to going for those aggressive plays, and particularly since he just killed off the Reaper of Clem, Serral says, well, you know what time it is? It's roach time. If you kill a Terran's early Reaper, it opens up a world of possibility for a Zerg to go for aggression and to sneak a quick win. I mean, Serral, he's one of the best late-game Zergs. No, he's the best late-game Zerg in the world. But that doesn't mean he wants to play a 20-minute macro game against Clem over and over again. So going for a quick win like this is such a good strategy, particularly when he was planning to snipe that Reaper. That was so smart with the Queen. And my gosh, that was just a beautiful decision. And Clem could really be hurting from this. If we take a look, the command center... The third command center is on the way, while Roaches and Ravagers are going to be crossing the map for Serral, and there is not a lot for Clem to deal with this. He's going to have a Banshee on the way, however, he's actually a little bit supply blocked, waiting on this CC to finish up. And there's actually, like, nothing for Clem to deal with this. His Roaches have now been spotted. That's Clem spotting Serral's Roaches, but there's already Ravagers and Roaches crossing the map, and this isn't like your 3-4 Roach attack. This is quite a large attack. There's multiple Roaches, multiple Ravagers crossing the map. Clem's not going to get that bunker up at his natural, and there's going to be dead SCVs. Make no mistake about it. Serral's going to try and break down the supply depot. He should get that rather quickly. SCVs won't save it. Clem has started a Marauder to help out, but non-stimmed Marauders can actually get targeted down pretty quick by Roaches. Looks like Serral just going to pause for a second, target down that Cloak, shuts that down. Roaches chasing after the Marauder. Clem trying to micro these as well as he can, but there's also Corrosive Biles being tossed down in his main base. Clem has done a good job buying time by sort of making the Roaches move around a bit. However, he's still going to lose 10 SCVs, probably a few more, at least some of his units. That Marauder does get picked down. No more Roaches were sent across the map. So, I mean, that's actually less SCVs than I expected Clem to lose. I think a big part of that was the fact that the Marauder was running away, that the Hellions were running away. Serral also didn't, like, section a unit off to the natural, I don't believe. So that's actually quite nice for Clem to only lose 10 workers. That being said, he's still not in a great spot, I feel, because Serral is already up to 52 drones on 3 bases. So it's quite nice for Clem to have only lost 10 workers, but he was at 28 against 50 for a time. And Serral always macros behind his attack pretty darn well. We see Clem, he's going to be trying to get a little bit of payback by picking off some drones with these Hellions, but instead the Hellions probably not going to get too much done. The Queens, they will inject instead of actually shooing those Hellions away, so 3 more drones do get picked off. That's quite nice for Clem, but it's not that much damage getting done. We see 60 drones are already up for Serral. 1 Hellion runs on in. Oh, 2 Hellions actually run on in. I was going to say, one of them's probably going to die soon. But wow, actually getting a lot more damage than I thought they would do. These Hellions were quite injured before going in. So Clem getting some nice damage done to Serral. The Banshee in the main base also targeting down a few drones. 8 drones going down. Not bad at all. The Hellions and the Banshees do go down, so it makes the trade not quite as juicy for Clem, but at least he got something done. He's getting up his 3rd base. He's making 3 SCVs non-stop to rebuild that worker count, courteous of his 3rd command center. If he didn't have that, he'd just be dead, and make no mistake. Ling's running in for Serral. He knows the timing for that 3rd base, but looks like that siege tank, the Marines do deal with those, so nice job there protecting those mules. We saw in the previous game, Clem lost a couple mules to those mutas, but kept a couple of mules alive this time. 1-1 is on the way for both players. Serral going to be playing a primarily Roach style. It would seem to give himself the muscle to deal with this bio. And in the early stages, Roaches can trade out quite well against the bio, particularly if you have a strong economy. And Serral is already on 66 workers. He's getting towards the 4th base. So if he gets that up and saturates it quite quickly, that would be really nice for him. Ravagers are a little bit too far forward. One of them gets picked off. A good job from Clem. He's moving some Roaches and a Queen towards the natural, though, to deal with that. So the drop does get shut down. Serral just making more and more Roaches, getting his upgrades, getting his speed. We'll see if Serral is going to go for either an infestation pit or, say, maybe a baneling nest to try and add to this army, or whether he's just going to keep making roaches and try and overwhelm Clem. Personally, I'm fine with either decision. I think it's more risky to go for the big roach attack, but seeing as how queens are already across the map for Serral, I think this is going to be pretty darn aggressive that we're seeing. Roaches and Ravagers charging up the ramp into 3 siege tanks actually makes it quite painful for Serral. Queens transfusing the Ravagers, keeping them alive, however. So that was quite an aggressive attack for Serral to charge up that ramp, but this attack is by no means done yet. The Corrosive Bile can be tossed down non-stop. The additional barracks of Clem being really attacked here. Clem does just charge forward with his bio, however, just looking to force Serral back, trade out as well as he can, because in theory, bio does trade better against Roach Ravager. The main threat is just being overwhelmed. We see Clem wisely repositioning his siege tanks to help zone this out. He will lose supply depots, so Serral at least getting every little thing that he possibly can. He's got to be careful not to overcommit, though. We see him pulling those Ravagers away because he knows they're the easier target. And that Clem is quick enough of a Terran to focus fire those down in the midst of a battle. So Serral, he got an attack in, but I don't think he got enough damage done with that. The 3 siege tanks on the high ground in position really took the wind out of Serral's sails there. Clem also going for a drop while this is going on, and Serral is still just committing to Roach Ravager, so that's noteworthy. He's really quite committed to this attack. We'll see if he can make it work. 4th base going to be getting dropped by Clem. Nice move from the Terran player. Going to maybe get a few drones. Serral runs those away, though. Well done. Looks like the Spore Crawler at the natural. Even repositioning, knowing where Clem was going to go. Oh my gosh, Serral is so good. And he's also pushing in, taking a different attack path from the south. That being said, though, he is very committed out onto the map right now, as those Marines try and engage, try and get good trades for Clem once more. Clem is on 150 supply. If he can get to the 160, 170 mark, things significantly start improving for the Terran, as you have to be much less scared of the Zerg. Serral is maxed out, of course, making this Roach Ravager comp, just churning out as many units as he can. He does get right on top of Clem's bio. This seems like a bit of an overcommitment for Clem, fighting with that bad of a concave without any siege tank support. That's not something he wants to do, and his supply is being kept at 150. So he's really got to respect these roaches until he is at that critical supply mass. I mean, this isn't that much bio for him compared to this many roaches. It looks like there's a lot more roach biomass compared to the Terran. So Clem, if he probably just wants to sit back for another couple of seconds or another couple production cycles and then take a fight. However, Serral's not giving him the chance to just sit back. His Marines are being healed by the Medivacs as fast as they can. The tank's shooting off, even the Widowmine in the mix. But Serral is looking to push forward right now. Clem's 2-2 just finished up. Serral was fighting with 2-2 before that, though. That's probably why the fight went so well for him in the first place. And now these Marines are by themselves, and it's just a handful of Marines. There's more roaches than there is Marines in this situation, and that is not a good trade for the Marines. Corrosive Bile even hitting that command center. Clem realizes that and is lifting it off, also to give himself better surface area. But this is a really great trade for the Zerg. This is Serral hitting before Clem was able to get to that max out Terran supply. And even if Clem cleans this up eventually, it's going to have been very costly for him. 21 SCVs died during that. We even see these queens going off creep to engage these Marines. Nicely done by Serral to stay on top of that. Looks like a few drones have gone down, but nothing major. That Medivac does get shut down. Nice for Serral not to have to worry about that. The Terran player down to 112 supply. We had seen Clem, and oh, he accidentally shoots his tank there. That's not what you want to do. We saw Clem, he was almost at that kind of critical biomass, but Serral attacked in, he's knocked Clem down. Clem's got a 4th base up, but if he just dies to more roaches for Serral, that doesn't matter. And we take a look, these siege tanks are getting Corrosive Bile, they're just going to go down right away. Once again, Clem fighting into a very poor concave. He's setting up another siege tank, but I think Serral is just going to crash through, and Serral's going to take a 2-0 lead in this series, just like that, with the mass roach play. Okay, Clem against the ropes. It might not be necessarily fair to say to Clem, but Serral is Serral, and that seems to just be how he's winning this series. playing at that high level he usually does. And while, as opposed to, say, a year ago or 6 months ago, if Clem and Serral played, I'd say Serral was probably feet above Clem, whereas now maybe he's just inches above, it would seem. So the gap seems much closer between these two. If one or two things maybe went Clem's way, he'd probably be able to get away with it, but Serral does seem to make all the right moves and play pretty darn well here. So we're going to take a look, see if Clem can change anything up. He's down 0-2 against Serral, which is not a comfortable position to be. If you're down 0-2 against Serral, you're probably just like, well, lights out, that's it. Thanks for watching. I don't know if Serral's ever really been reverse sweeped. It's definitely not a common thing to happen. There's few that can say they've done it. I'm curious what sort of build Clem should bring out. I do like his bio play. I think during that last game, Clem did take a few overzealous fights charging forward. Like, he really should have just played that defensive and just focused on getting the supply up. Because once you're a Terran who has got to say, as I said before, that 160, 170 supply, you trade infinitely better against the Roach Ravager. The Roach Ravager has the benefit that it's cheap, so the Zerg can have a lot of it quickly. And they just Zerg you. They just overwhelm you with the Roach Ravager. And that's exactly what happened to Clem. The snowball started, and then the trades get worse and worse, because the more bio you have, the better you trade against the Zerg. Clem also was investing in a 4th base. He was getting 3-3 on the way. All things that would have been very, very good for him if he held on, but Serral just knew to commit to that attack to win the game. Once again, we do see an SCV scout for Clem. He's sending that SCV home right away, though, as the Reaper moves across the map to take its place. Serral not moving a drone out to take that 3rd base, so there's a chance the Reaper can try and deny that. A lot of the Terran's early Reaper control is maybe getting a drone if you're lucky, if the Zerg makes some big mistake. But oh, look at that. Serral dodges the drone. Oh my gosh. To avoid that grenade, because you can't control it to make a spore if it gets hit by the grenade. He's now running away that injured drone, but well done by Serral, keeping those lings, keeping the drones alive. And both these players are playing a million miles a minute. If we pull up that APM tab, Serral 400, Clem about 300. They average about 50 between them. Not that APM is an indicator of skill, but it just goes to show how hard these players work for every little advantage in the game. And that was so slick by Serral. Just pulls the drone back, sends it forward, and back to mining. So slick there. The 3rd base is going to want to get up at some point for Serral. So he's going to have to move a queen out to try and push this Reaper away. But oh, we take a look. Serral, once again, going for a quick lair. And this could be another 2-base Spire. Is Serral bringing back the 2-base Spire? I have a tough time believing it because of how hard 2-base Spires fell out of the meta, but there's always a chance that someone as good as Serral can make it work consistently. If anyone was, I'd say it would be Serral. I feel like doing it against a Terran is pretty risky, though. As we do see Clem, he's going for an armory. He's making Hellions. The pretty much standard Hellbat all-in could be coming Serral's way. And a lot of Zergs have died going for 2-base Spire to Hellbat attacks. This is part of the reason why it just fell completely out of the meta. There is a very nice wall up for Serral, using this Baneling Nest and Queens to lock this up. His 3rd base is on the way. Clem's also got a Liberator after this, so we'll see if anything can be done to really try and slow down Serral, and it looks like it will be this Hellbat attack. What does Serral have to actually deal with this? The answer is not a lot, as a matter of fact. There's 4 Marines with 6 Hellions, soon to be Hellbats, and a Medivac support to push into Serral's side of the map. And Serral has very, very good Queen control, so I believe in his ability to maximize the efficiency of these, maybe target down the Medivac. He's got Lings jumping on top of this army, but those Hellbats backs against the Baneling Nest doing pretty darn well against this. More Lings are being made for Serral, but no, they're actually too late, and Clem sneaks a win against the best Zerg in the world. Wow. Game number 4 against Serral. Even doing that is an achievement. So Clem can give himself a pat on the back. Going down 0-2 and then sneaking a bit of a win. Serral kind of showing as 2-base Muta can be risky, even if we're the best Zerg in the world. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, I doubt Serral's going to try the 2-base Muta play once more, as it is such a risky play. Zergs like the Mutas because the Mutas are so good at giving you control if you use them well, and that's something that Serral really excels at, but you gotta sometimes just accept the fact that going for Mutas so early is a big, big risk. I also do want to correct myself. At the start of game number 1, I referred to this as the RedBull Battlegrounds. It is the RedBull Starcraft 2 tournament this is from. However, it's actually called LaughNgamez Finest, which is quite a nice tournament name, if I do say so myself. So that's cool. RedBull doing StarCraft 2 again. It's not a small prize pool that these players are playing for. And then the winner actually plays against Raynor in sort of like an extra finals, just to showcase how Raynor is sponsored by RedBull, which is very cool. RedBull has only ever sponsored some cool StarCraft 2 players. Sponsoring, I want to say, maybe... Okay, I know Bomber for a fact. He's like the OG RedBull boy. Then there was Nurchio sponsoring Raynor now. I want to say that MC was maybe sponsored for a time by RedBull, but don't quote me on that. That's like really reaching back there. Or maybe that was just sort of like a tease thing. He was at the RedBull studio at some point. Don't quote me on that. That was years and years ago. But yeah, RedBull doing SC2 is so cool. The ultimate dream would be for them to bring back the RedBull Battlegrounds, which was such a fun format back in the day. However, them just sponsoring SC2 again is amazing. With the ESL Pro Tour as well, a lot of tournament organizers are like, huh, I can run a cool StarCraft 2 tournament, and it's part of the best circuit in the world. And that's really exciting. So we're already seeing there's going to be a new Team Liquid Star League, which is coming back. I never saw one of those. Those were before my time in StarCraft 2. I follow up on my StarCraft history, but oh my gosh, that is a disaster for Clem. I was kind of rambling to myself a bit. And Clem is not going to be a happy camper after that. Clem was going for an eBay block. Maybe he was looking at that when his Reaper died. The Lings pop out, get the surround. That is a horrible feeling as a Terran. If you're a Terran playing against Serral, I get the feeling that it's just amplified. Interestingly enough, though, Clem actually made a second Reaper. That's really curious. I guess just because he wanted to try and delay the Queens and Lings attacking this eBay as long as possible. So this plan would have worked out a little bit better if he hadn't lost that first Reaper. But he does still have a Reaper, so he can scout out, make sure there's no big roach attack going on like there was in the previous match. Or match number 2, I mean. So that's kind of interesting. A second Reaper, sometimes Terrans do it. There's no real consensus on whether it's good, whether it's bad, how often you should do it, things like that. Special is another Terran who mixes this in quite a bit. The Reaper, though, going to be running away from those Lings, using that grenade to save itself. The Hellions will be out momentarily for Clem. That'll return map control to the Terran. And Serral has his third base on the way. So minor developments in this match. It looks like Serral is getting up a layer again. He's already on 2 gas, so we very well could see another Spire coming out as Serral this game, though he's going to be taking the much more safer approach to going for the Mutas. It's not a 2-base Muta. It's not a 2-base lair. As we take a look, there's a Baneling Nest already on the way. The third base is already on the way. More drones out, so a better economy to produce units if needed for defense. So I like that from Serral. Adapting already. It is indeed a Spire play, just a safer Spire play. He's still playing it a little bit greedy, just having a handful of Lings out right now, but he's got the Queens. He's making more Lings now. He will be defending himself. And also spots the third base of Clem, so there's no need to be sweating from Serral, anything like that, and spotting this all out is really nice for him. He even scouts out the extra barracks, the stim, so he gets the confirmation it's bio. Mech is so odd. Sometimes we see it regularly, sometimes we don't. It seems that it's fallen out of favor as of late, which is understandable. It's been a while since there was a patch, and Mech is a style that relies on chaos, that relies on uncertainty, something that a new patch brings in. Whereas the more the game's figured out, the worse mech is, and so Terrans are going to fall back to bio. So I'd be honestly surprised if we saw it in this series. And the BC Rush doesn't count as mech, but even that's really starting to fall out of the meta. Spire is on the way for Serral, so he's going to have those mutas out really soon. Going to be able to fire up about 7 or 8 of them, which is a good feeling for the Zerg, getting those mutas on the way. He's defending versus the Hellions with his queens. Clem, by not going for an early lair, by not making an early Spire, ooh, he's going to have to chase these Hellions away. He's splitting the Lings up right now. Oh, he's going to potentially get us around on the Hellions. Grabs a few of them. The Lings and Hellions trading out. It looks like that trade was okay for Clem. Loses 2 of the Hellions. Loses the Reaper as well. A couple of the Hellions bruised up. Trades out against 18 Lings. Not bad for Clem. Nothing too monumental. I was saying, though, I was going to make a bit of a joke, just based on the fact that Clem, he didn't invest his gas into something early, so he's actually able to get out this quick 1-1 upgrades, whereas Serral, who did invest in the mutas, who did invest in the lair, has got his 1-1 upgrades delayed. Marines, going to be chasing away these mutas. The Viking as well, using its range to help zone these out. Clem anticipating where these will bounce to next. The third base is the target. The Marines will stim after this, but oh, look at this. Serral going to be getting something. Ooh, eats a Widowmine shot. That's a little bit painful. Marines elevate into the main base to help try and deal with this. Looks like those mutas will be forced away. We take a look, though. Clem is going to get those barracks finished up. 6 SCVs dead. A little bit painful, considering how Serral does have a 4th base on the way already. Serral wasn't as slowed down by going for these mutas as he was in previous matches. And that also does include like his 4th base timing. It includes his overall economic health. So we're seeing the Zerg 66 drones. That'll go up when he gets that 4th base running. And now he's just going to have to start making Lings, start making mutas, start making Banelings. Just grow his numbers, spread that creep, stay on top of it. And then with the mutas, Serral will just try and nickel and dime Clem into a defeat. There we go. More drones being fired up as that hatchery is about to finish up. Good saturation timing for Serral. That's not something you often talk about, but it is quite notable. These mutas do have to run away. Oh, one of them goes down to the Marines. Bit of a mistake from Serral. He can afford little losses like that, but of course it's not something that you want to have happen. You want to be trading as efficiently as possible. These Marines going to pick off a medivac. That is nice for Serral. Gets the Viking as well. These mutas biting back. Clem, though, going to be charging right on into Serral's base. Looks like a few Banelings going to be finishing up or rolling forward, but no, they all get nullified by those Marines on top of them as they spawn. Spawn kill by the Marines of Clem. These Queen's going to try and buffer. There's also a counterattack that went on. I believe Banelings killed off 10 SCVs. The Marines, though, are going to focus down that 4th base of Serral, and that is going to cost the Zerg quite a bit, really cutting into his economy. Clem also scanning, seeing that there wasn't another base getting started up. So Serral, he got some counter damage done with a Baneling attack, knocked off 10 SCVs, so Clem's economy is hurting, but the 4th base is quite a big loss for Serral. More Banelings being made for Serral. He's building the 4th base at the further back, safer location. He's also going to keep microing these mutas to get whatever he can done. So that's good, keeping Clem back. There's also 2-2 already on the way for Serral, whereas Clem seemingly has delayed those upgrades. Where does he have an armory? Yes, he does, but he hasn't fired up those upgrades yet, which is a little bit uncharacteristic for Clem. He's going to want to start that ASAP. Either that or he's going to have to end the game soon, because not having your 2-2 when your opponent has 2-2 will really hurt you as the Terran. Marines out on the map for Clem. Going to have to be careful. They get loaded up into the medivacs. They're going to have to boost away. The mutas are on top of these, running back towards those widow mines. Serral going to bait out those mines. The mines have now been taken care of. Serral, though, can't go further off creep. There's too much for Clem, as that might not have been that good of a trade for Serral. He lost a lot of Lings. His creep is pretty far back, so he's going to have a tough time engaging all of these Marines and mines, seeing as how Clem is really good at splitting. So Serral could be in a bit of a tricky spot right now. Gonna have to dislodge the Terran. Step one, he's gonna start picking off these Marines with a counterattack. He's gonna try and roll these Banes on top of these Marines, but no, they're all getting shut down. The supply is quite even, but not in the army sense. Serral potentially going to lose his 4th base once again. Fortunately for him, he did actually sneak up another location. The very wise Zerg decision. Always be building an extra hatchery if you can, because this is exactly what happens. Serral does have another base to fall onto. I was talking about 2-2 upgrades, though. Clem's going to stim forward. These 2-2 upgrades could be the next target. The +2 attack of Serral is going to get shut down. That is a huge upgrade denial if Clem gets it. It looks like he may not. He does get it. Looks like Clem committed a lot of Marines to this attack, so a lot of those will probably end up dying. They're gonna trade out with the mutas, all right, though. But still, that was quite painful for Serral, losing his +2 melee attack. He's gonna have to start his +2 melee right after his Carapace finishes up. So Clem will actually really benefit himself by getting that. Serral firing up more mutas. He's been steadily bleeding them off this game. Lost 8. Not a huge amount, not a low amount either. So he wants to keep that mutalist count high enough to be effective. He's also got to stay on top of Baneling production, though, because if you don't have enough Banelings to deal with the Terran army, you will just die to the attack. And look at this, Clem not waiting a second, just already setting course towards Serral's new base. The second that Clem realized this was up, he's like, yep, I'm going to have to go kill this base, and I think he very well may be able to. Serral seems to believe it too, as Serral's just abandoning this location, playing whack-a-mole right now, as the Zerg is setting up another base. Ling counterattack going to be getting cut up by these Marines. That's painful for Serral, losing those. They maybe could have engaged the Marines, or done so at least with the mutalistic support. Look at that, though. A dead Zerg hatchery. Serral has lost multiple hatcheries this game, so he's been on a 3-base economy at 80 drones. Not optimal saturation at all, and we really see Serral is wanting to buy as much time as he can by having these mutas out on the map. Look at this, though. This could be risky for Serral. The mutas are flying home. They may just be trapped, though, as Clem has got Marines. He's got a Thor in position to deal with these mutas. The mutas are just going to have to hug this location. They are trapped, though. We'll see if they can sneak out somewhere. Clem, though, has got these mutas boxed in. Lots of Widow Mines are going to shut down these Lings that I think were being sent in to aid the mutas. That's a really good play for Clem. And oh, look at that. Clem even sent in more Marines here to reinforce this weak point. These mutas are completely trapped. They've been locked out, and there's nothing that Serral can do at the minute to deal with this. He's going to send in some Banelings to try and force these Marines to free the mutalisks. That is such a cool play. The mutas do get out. Costs Serral some Banelings. Better than losing all of his mutas, however. +2 attack is about to finish up for Serral, so the upgrades will be evened up. Clem, once again, seemingly has stopped an upgrade. He didn't start his +3 melee attack. He clearly intended to, but didn't have enough money, so he just started his armor. The mutas for Serral have taken a bit of a beating. They've got to be careful. They're just about flying over those mutas. 3-3 is on the way for Clem. He's going to be looking to march forward towards Serral's 5th base. Serral has barely been mining on a 4-base economy this entire game due to Clem's constant pressure, and once more he's got to try and defend this. So far he's been unsuccessful every time. He's committing a lot to a counterattack, but here we go. The Baneling's gonna roll forward just by themselves, though. No other units making use of those Banelings, not aiding them in any way, and Serral's gonna have to abandon a location once more. There's a nasty Ling counterattack biting into the 3rd base of Clem. But so far, Clem's attacks have not been hindered by Serral, and if he can pick off this location, that would be a huge victory for Clem, as the damage of denying Serral's bases over and over again is starting to add up. Clem's going to kite back against those Banelings, but they can't go off creep. Their numbers are starting to thin out. Serral maybe has one more surge forward, but he's got to dislodge the Terran player now. The muta's coming in from behind to help out, but Clem just charging these Marines so far off creep. He's going to split them. Amazing splits against the Banelings, and it looks like Clem is going to force Serral back once more. Serral may have to abandon this location. His mutas, though, are being cut up by the Marines in mass. and there's simply not enough Zerg. Serral's gonna pick this hill, but it could be the one he dies on. Ling's getting a good surround on the Terran Force, so Serral does defend this location. However, it cost him every single one of his mutas. Clem has kept his economy going at a reasonable extent as well, so another Terran attack could very well be coming forward, and the Liberator harassment. Serral is not on a good economy, and he actually just taps out, not gonna try and fight this one out any longer. Clem has tied up the series. Here we are. It is game number 5 between Clem and Serral. What a series we have had so far, and I'm excited to see how it finishes up. In the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have got Serral and his challenger putting his opponent on the ropes. It's Clem fighting back against the Zerg. Clem has been showing us some really good Terran play. Being as relentless as Serral is really the best way to sum it up. Sometimes I wonder whether I should cast more high-level games like Serral, because I know a ton of other YouTubers and things commentate these matches, and I think, yeah, and usually for the most part I pass, but I saw this was an online cup, so I think I'm going to be one of the first people to have cast this. So if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure you subscribe, press that like button. It lets me know that you want to see more games of Serral, even if it was maybe cast by someone else. There we go, and what a map we have for the final map. Zen LE, Zen Ladder Edition, to close things out. Quite an odd map, indeed. It's, I'd say, less accepted than Golden Wall as a normal map, less accepted than, its name escapes me, the one with all the inhibitor zones, Purity and Industry. It's a little bit less favored by some of the pros, I feel. That's probably why this was game number 5, I imagine, between these two. Reaper on the way for Clem. That is one of the impressive things from Clem's play today. He's really gone for standard play for the most part. It's not like he's busted out anything crazy to throw Serral off as doing that's a tall order. Clem's just been going toe-to-toe in a normal macro game against the best Zerg in the world. SCV scouting out towards the third base of Serral. Maybe going to try and delay that or just confirm it. Okay, the drone and SCV are maybe going to see each other. Is there going to be a worker battle? Clem identifies the drone. I'm not sure what that SCV was there for. Was it to build a sneaky bunker? Just confirm the third base? Looks like that's all it was for. Which is interesting because Clem has gone for a Reaper as well. So that is quite interesting. I guess Clem wanting to make sure that third base was going up ruled out that 2-base mutaplay, or the quicker mutaplay anyway. Reaper going to be intercepting one of these Lings. It's nice for Clem to catch that, not having to worry about that poking around his base. However, Lings, much like Sith, where there's one, there's another, and looks like Serral had just sent out the one. Got an odd number of Lings. Reaper gonna try and run up, but Zen very easy to wall off this path. So the Reaper gonna have to go towards the third base location. The choke points on this map can be controlled quite easily. Air harassment is another story. If Clem is to go for drops or, say, Liberator harassment, that's always a possibility. To be completely frank, though, I'm not sure how this map's going to play out. Clem, I imagine, will be going for a third base soon, just because that's what he's been going for consistently. And Serral does seem to be enjoying the mutas as of late. Oh, look at this, though. Clem charging in with his Hellions, wasting no time at all. He's going to just trade on out with these. Looks like he doesn't get many drones so far. How many can he nab up before these units are inevitably cleaned up? Looks like 2 dead drones. Will we see a third or a fourth? Looks like a third and a fourth. So that makes things better for Clem. I'm not sure how good that trade was. I feel like it wasn't that bad, just based off the fact that it's quite early in the game. Otherwise, trading 2 Hellions and a Reaper for drones is kind of eh. But seeing as how we were only 4 minutes into the match, that trade seems alright for Clem. You will replace those Hellions as well. So going to be going back up to 5, 6 more. So 6 Hellions, despite throwing away 4. So quite a commitment for Clem. This notably delays his third base. It's like a Ling that was scouting out, gets cleaned on up. Serral, of course, sees the third base timing. Sees that there's more Hellions been made, so he's going to want to be careful. He's having his queens in position. Liberator moving out on the map for Clem. That air harassment could be beginning. We'll see where he decides to prop this up. Double eBays are on the way for Clem, however. Much like his command center, his eBays were delayed. This is due to the fact that he went for all these extra Hellions. 1-1 is on the way for Serral. 1-1 hasn't started yet for Clem. So his upgrades won't be quite on par with the Zerg. They won't be horribly timed, but they won't be on par with the Zerg. The Liberator getting a couple of drone kills is nice. Taking no shots yet is really impressive for the Liberator. Serral, though, does seemingly just want to charge towards his 66 drone count, be on a healthy number of that. The creep spread will be very important for Serral on this game because it's just a short step away from these ramps towards the third base of the Zerg. 1-1 on the way for Clem. As I said before, Serral is a little bit sooner. He's getting up that lair, getting up that Baneling nest. Probably going to be going for mutas if I had to imagine. And then the game's just going to continue on from here. This Viking staying alive is going to be looking for another Overlord. There should be a Queen to come in. She doesn't have energy to save this Overlord, so that's actually going to be a kill. And oh, look at this for Clem. The Liberator comes in the second that Queen moves out of position. That is such a smart play. And man, this Liberator has killed 5 drones without even taking a single shot. That's seriously impressive for a Liberator. Like, that's actually a really good for a Liberator. Quite uncommon indeed. An Armory is on the way for Clem, so he's going to be having his upgrades roll right through towards 2-2. This also will allow him to transform these Hellions into Hellbats to help with a potential push, and looks like a push will be on the cards for Clem. He's going to be moving forward with these Hellions, which will help him kite these Lings, maybe control a little bit out at the front, and then he just wants to get his siege tank set up, and he's actually just going to charge right on in. Serral knows that he can't chase these Marines without Bane speed, but oh, he is actually going to go for it. Clem maybe stepped a little bit too far forward, but Clem actually lifts up those Marines, saves a good portion of them, and could potentially keep this push going. One of those tanks is still set up. Can he get the 4th base of Serral? That is the question. The Queens are coming forward to help with this. The Medivacs will probably be their first target. Queens also take a lot of shots from tanks, so they can tank a lot of the tank damage. The Queen's going to shoot away, picks off one of the Medivacs. Removing that really reduces the strength of this Terran army. That Medivac will be chased away. The Marines and Siege Tank will be cleaned on up. Serral holds that attack, immediately throws up a macro hatchery, not going for a 5th base instead, which is quite understandable on Zen, as any 5th base location on this map is very exposed. 2-2 is on the way for both players, pretty much the same timing. Extra factor on the way for Clem, 4th base on the way for Clem. He doesn't want to just commit to some big 3-base attack, which I can really respect. We also see Clem going to be trying to make use of these siege tanks, make use of all the cliffs on this map. Has a lot of Marines unloading. Serral's going to have to jump on this to shut this down, but oh, look at this. These Marines not being challenged because of the odd spot this siege tank puts Serral in. The Marine's going to lift on up. The siege tank actually gets evacuated too, and oh, Clem just bounces towards the main base now. He's going to have another location to push his opponent. We see a few of the Marines were unloaded at first, but a bunch more on the low ground just to keep abusing these locations. And we are 9 minutes into the game, and Clem is doing a cutesy little attack like this. This is not something Serral wants to be dealing with at this point. So the Queens are going to step forward. They're going to shoo away the Medivac, shoo away the tank, and this attack will be shut down. But Clem keeping the pressure on the Zerg like that is very, very well done. All the while, he's been macroing up, getting up his 4th base. That will be finished up soon, producing units non-stop, so he's at a very healthy supply. His 2-2 is on the way as well, so his Bioforce will be quite strong with all these units that he's been producing. Siege tank getting some shots off on the Lings will be cleaned up. So it's a bit of a shame that Clem lost that. However, the tank really did its job by putting its pressure on the Zerg for so long. Another drop for Clem is going to be pushing towards this location. Maybe get a drone or two, but will be forced to evacuate. Getting the creep is also a big deal. Really pushing that back. I said before how important the creep is on Zen. Clem, I was saying he was building up a very strong army, and part of the reason for that, I'm saying, is because he's making a lot of Widow Mines, also has some siege tanks in his army still, and on top of that is at a very high army supply compared to that of Serral, up 30 supply to the Zerg, and if Clem can just take consistent fights off creep, that could be all he needs to go for a game-winning push. The Zerg could be in a bit of trouble. Serral hasn't been rushing towards fast ultras or anything like that, so he's not going to have that to be his saving grace. He's just going to have to rely on his mass Ling this game. Adrenal Glands is now getting researched. Vipers are also going to be on the way. An interesting choice, I suppose, just to counter any of the siege tanks. Blinding Cloud, a very strong tool as well. Against Bio, we see Serral just trying to buy as much time as he can, whereas Clem is looking for the right angle to make the magic happen. Baneling's Ling is going to roll forward. Widow Mines are burrowed. Serral has to be careful attacking into this location. Looks like Serral's going to win the fight to the north. Does not win the fight to the south, though, and actually has his 6th base canceled. His 5th base is also under fire. Serral will keep that alive, though, by throwing Lings at the problem. Still, though, he is down about 15 army supply, as this game is showing no signs of slowing down. Serral is going to have to deal with Clem unloading units inside his natural base, using the siege tanks brilliantly in this position, and all the while Serral is trying to deal with this, he's got to be thinking of where's he going to be dropping next, where's he going to be pushing next. Serral will have Vipers to help shut this down, which is actually a huge deal. Dealing with this without Vipers would be much more tough. A Blinding Cloud gets used to help shut this down. The siege tanks are going to be exposed. Banelings and Lings will clean up those tanks, and then the Bio will have to go on home. That tank did get off some sick shots before it got picked off. However, Clem at this point is really just trying to drop all over, but man, that is a big drop he's got towards the north end. Going to be picking off the 5th base of Serral, knocking Serral down to a 4-base economy. And Clem, once again, just unloads in the main base, keeping these drops that Serral has the army to deal with. He just doesn't have the positioning to deal with them. Banelings are going to roll forward, but Clem evacuates a large portion of the units after a massive Widow Mine hit. 22 kills on that Widow Mine. And this is starting to add up a little bit against Serral. We see the supply 142 to 175. That is not in favor of the Zerg. And Clem is just doing what he was doing in previous games, continuously pushing, with the addition of a lot of CCs while this is going on. So even if he doesn't kill Serral, he's getting ready to take this game later and later just by making a ton of bio and attacking relentlessly. The 5th base of Serral, the new attempt, gets shut down. He has to cancel that. Parasitic Bomb goes down on the Medivac, but that's not really going to help Serral in the ground fight. The supply of the Zerg has just dropped. Clem is also still being a pain with a single Marine and a Medivac. And Serral, his production has just been cut too much. He's making only a handful of Lings. He's at half the army supply of Clem, as Clem's just been trading so well over and over again. The Widow Mines have really been doing work. Serral is baiting those out quite well. But he doesn't have a big bank. He doesn't have the economy he needs to keep pace with a Terran who's just throwing up extra CCs, producing units non-stop. Clem stims his bio forward. He's got Marines and Marauders stepping onto creep, and it seems that he's just done such a good job attacking on this map that he's going to be able to push forward, and I'm not sure that Serral will be able to dislodge him. The Vipers are going to have to be very useful here. I think it's going to need to be something other than a Parasitic Bomb, because it's all about this big fight for Serral. The Lings and Banelings are going to roll forward. A base gets canceled amidst the chaos. Banelings rolling off creep, getting killed by the Marauders, and Serral's supply is dropping. Clem is also dropping towards the main base, being a pain, but then he's going for the big push towards the 3rd. That Marauder count is quite high. The Banelings simply won't trade well enough. Serral is killing off his own hatchery with the Vipers helping out as well. There's a chance he'll be able to hold on. It's going to be tough, though. Lings getting surrounds on the Marauders is good for Serral. The adrenal glands on the Lings is really helping out, even if he's behind at 2-2 upgrades to the 3-3 of Clem. But Clem, he's getting up more orbitals. He's got a 5th base. He's going to be taking a 6th base as well. The Terran shows no signs of slowing down. Few Lings for sale run into the bio of Clem saying, yep, that army's still there. A lot of Lings are out for Serral, as it is just Ling Bane for Serral this entire game. The Vipers are going to need some very good spells. One Parasitic Bomb goes off, but what is that really going to do? It's going to kill off a Medivac or two, but Clem has constant production. We really need a decisive fight for Serral to shut Clem down for good, but when the Mine count, when the Marauder count is this high, with Ling Bane, there really isn't a way for Serral to do that. Widowmine's getting good shots off for Clem again and again. A Parasitic Bomb goes down once more, but it's just on a single Medivac. Clem also dropping towards the 5th base of Serral, gonna knock that off. Serral will once again barely clean up the front attack, but no, he just taps on out, seeing that this game isn't getting any better for him, and that Clem, the monster Terran, has just taken down Serral 3-2 in a reverse sweep. What a series, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, am I glad that I cast this one. That was a darn good match of Starcraft 2. My throat is kind of wrecked after this best of 5, but it was worth it. I just had to cast it all in one go. And so, if you enjoyed this series, make sure to press that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And also, if you subscribe, it gets you daily Starcraft 2, which I think is a pretty good deal. Join the Discord if you haven't, if you want to talk about StarCraft 2. I know there was a conversation just going on of people's favorite players. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't. I tweet out StarCraft stuff, event stuff. And of course, if you want, check out that membership program as a way to support the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. I might have to check out some more of the games from this Red Bull tournament and to put on the channel. But yeah, thanks so much for watching.